Welcome to HOA Backfired. She treated a fence panel like a felony. A post hole sat open in my yard and Karen screamed that digging without approval was a violation and the daily fines were already running. I stood there with the post hole digger still in my hands, dirt on my boots, and Donna Young pointing at the ground like I had just detonated a bomb. "You are not special, you are just next." That was the first thing she said to me, and she said it loud enough that the neighbor across the street stopped mowing and stared. I live in Anchorage, Alaska, in a neighborhood called the Preserve at Oak Grove Community Association, and I work as a warehouse inventory controller. I track every item and every timestamp, so when Donna showed up in my yard with a megaphone and a pink windbreaker, I knew exactly what I was dealing with. She is the vendor coordinator for the HOA, which means she threatens contractors and service techs for a living. The post hole was for a fence repair. One section of my back fence had rotted through over the winter, and I was replacing 3 panels. I had tied a string line between 2 small stakes to mark the alignment, and I had dug exactly 1 hole when Donna came storming across the lawn. She did not ask what I was doing. She did not introduce herself. She just started yelling. The hole is a violation. The string line is an unapproved sign. The fence repair requires written approval and a site survey, and I should have submitted a request 30 days in advance. I told her I was replacing a rotted section with the same height and style, and she cut me off. I do not negotiate with violations. That was her line, and she said it twice in the first minute. She pulled out her phone and started taking pictures of the hole, the string line, the dirt pile, and me. She said the fines were already running and they would continue every day until I filled the hole and submitted a formal application. I asked her to show me the rule. She said it was in the covenants and I should have read them before I bought the house. I asked her which page. She said she was not required to educate me on basic compliance. I asked her how much the fine was. She said $50 per day for an unapproved structure, and the string line counted as a sign, so that was another $25 per day. I asked her how a string line was a sign. She said it conveyed information about a boundary, which made it signage under the architectural guidelines. I asked her if she had a copy of the guidelines with her. She said no, but she would email them to me after she filed the violation report. She walked away before I could say anything else. I stood there with a post hole digger, a pile of dirt, and no idea what had just happened. I pulled out my phone and checked my email. Nothing. I checked the HOA website. The architectural guidelines section was a dead link. I called the management company and got voicemail. I left a message asking for a copy of the fence rules and the fine schedule, and I said I needed it today because I had a permit inspection scheduled for this afternoon, and missing it would delay the job and cost real money. That was my first mistake. I should have known that mentioning a permit inspection to an HOA in Alaska was like waving a red flag. Donna called me back 20 minutes later. She said I had applied for a city permit without HOA approval, which was a separate violation, and the fine for that was $100 per day. I told her the city permit was for electrical work on my garage, not the fence. She said any permit activity on the property required HOA sign-off, and I should have known that. I asked her to send me the rule. She said she already told me she would email the guidelines, and I needed to stop harassing her with redundant requests. I am trying to keep my record clean because of background checks at work. My company does government contracts, and any legal trouble or unresolved disputes can flag a security review. The HOA knows this. Donna knows this. She has used it before. I heard about it from my neighbor, a guy named Marcus, who had his car towed last year after Donna claimed he parked in a fire lane that did not exist. He fought it, won, and got his fees refunded, but the tow company kept his car for 3 days and he missed a site visit for his job. Marcus told me Donna keeps a stack of certified mail slips on her desk and brags about sending them. He said she loves watching people scramble. I decided to document everything. I took pictures of the post hole, the string line, the rotted fence section, and the replacement panels I had already bought. I took screenshots of the dead link on the HOA website. I recorded a video walkthrough of the fence line, narrating the measurements and explaining that I was replacing like with like. I saved Donna's voicemail. I printed the city permit for the garage work and highlighted the scope of work so it was clear the permit had nothing to do with the fence. Then I emailed all of it to the management company with a subject line that said urgent, violation dispute and evidence of selective enforcement. The management company responded 2 hours later. They said they had forwarded my email to the board and someone would follow up within 5 business days. I told them I needed an answer today because the fines were supposedly running and I had a contractor scheduled to finish the fence tomorrow morning. They said the board did not have an emergency meeting process for architectural disputes and I should plan to attend the next monthly meeting if I wanted to appeal. The next meeting was 3 weeks away. I called my contractor, a guy named Luis who does fence and deck work all over Anchorage. I told him what happened and asked if he had ever dealt with Donna. He laughed. He said Donna had called him 6 months ago and told him he was banned from working in the preserve because he had installed a deck railing that was half an inch too tall. He said he showed her the approved plans and the city inspector's sign-off, and she told him the HOA did not care what the city approved. He said he stopped taking jobs in the preserve after that because Donna would call his clients and threaten them with fines if they did not fire him. I asked Luis if he would still finish my fence. He said he would, but he wanted payment up front because he did not want to chase me for it if the HOA put a lien on my house. I paid him. He said he would be there in the morning, and if Donna showed up, he would ignore her. I thanked him and hung up. Then I went back outside and stared at the post hole. I thought about filling it in and waiting for the board meeting, but that felt like surrender. I thought about finishing the fence and dealing with the fines later, but I did not know if the fines were real or if Donna was just making things up. I needed to know what the rules actually said. I drove to the HOA clubhouse. It was a small building near the front entrance with a parking lot, a meeting room, and an office that was supposed to be open on weekday afternoons. The door was locked. There was a sign that said office hours, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 to 4 p.m. It was Wednesday. I looked through the window and saw a desk, a filing cabinet, and a bulletin board covered with notices. One of the notices had a photo of a car with a bright orange tow sticker on the windshield. The caption said parking enforcement in action. I took a picture of it. If you are enjoying this story, please hit the like button and subscribe for more HOA drama where the rules do not mean what they say and the enforcers do not follow them. I went home and checked my email again. Donna had sent me a message. The subject line said violation summary and next steps. The email was 3 paragraphs long and included a PDF attachment. The PDF was a violation notice with my name, my address, and a list of 4 violations: unapproved excavation, unapproved signage, unapproved fence modification, and failure to submit an architectural application. Each violation had a fine amount and a daily escalation schedule. The total was $275, and it would increase by the same amount every day until I came into compliance. Compliance meant filling the hole, removing the string line, removing the fence panels, and submitting a formal application with a site survey and a design review fee of $500. I read the email twice. Then I read the PDF. Then I opened the attachment at the bottom of the email, which was labeled Architectural Guidelines. It was a scanned document, 42 pages long, with a table of contents that did not match the page numbers. I scrolled to the section on fences. It said all fences required prior written approval from the Architectural Review Committee, and all applications must include a site survey prepared by a licensed surveyor showing the property lines and setbacks. It said unapproved fences would be subject to removal at the owner's expense, and daily fines would accrue until compliance was achieved. It did not say anything about string lines or excavation. I scrolled to the section on signs. It said all signs required prior written approval, and unapproved signs would be removed by the HOA at the owner's expense. It defined a sign as any structure or object intended to convey information to the public. I read that sentence 4 times. A string line tied between 2 stakes was not intended to convey information to the public. It was a construction tool. I took a screenshot and saved it. I emailed Donna back. I said the string line was not a sign under the definition in the guidelines, and the excavation was a repair, not a modification. I said I was replacing a rotted section with the same height and style, and I had photos proving the original fence was identical. I asked her to cancel the fines and confirm that I could proceed with the repair. She replied in 10 minutes. She said the determination of what constitutes a sign or a modification was at the discretion of the Architectural Review Committee, and my opinion was not relevant. She said the fines would continue, and if I proceeded with the repair without approval, she would refer the matter to the HOA attorney for lien proceedings. I called Marcus. He came over 20 minutes later with a folder full of documents. He said he had been keeping records ever since his tow truck incident, and he had evidence of selective enforcement going back 2 years. He showed me photos of other fences in the neighborhood that had been modified or replaced without approval. He showed me emails where Donna had approved projects verbally and then denied ever having the conversation. He showed me meeting minutes where the board had voted to waive fines for certain homeowners but not others. He said the HOA attorney had quietly settled 3 disputes in the past year because the board did not want the enforcement records to become public. Marcus said Donna had a cozy relationship with a tow vendor, and the call logs showed it. He said the vendor had towed 17 cars from the preserve in the past year, and 15 of them were later determined to be improper tows. He said the vendor paid Donna a referral fee for every tow, and the HOA got a cut of the impound fees. He said he had filed a complaint with the management company, but they told him it was a board decision and they could not override it. He said the only way to stop Donna was to force a board vote at a public meeting and make the records part of the official minutes. I asked Marcus if he would help me. He said yes, but he warned me that Donna would escalate. He said she had a pattern. She would start with fines, then move to lien threats, then call the tow truck, then show up at your house with the megaphone. He said the megaphone was the worst part because she would use it to announce your violation to the entire street, and she would do it during the morning commute when everyone was leaving for work. He said she had done it to him, and his neighbors still brought it up at block parties. I decided to get ahead of it. I printed Marcus's documents and added them to my file. I wrote a formal complaint to the board, citing specific examples of selective enforcement and requesting an immediate review of Donna's authority to interpret the guidelines. I attached all of my evidence, the photos, the videos, the screenshots, the city permit, the contractor invoice, and the records Marcus had given me. I sent it to the management company, the board president, and every board member whose email I could find on the HOA website. I CC'd Donna. She called me 15 minutes later. She was screaming. She said I had just committed defamation and harassment, and she was referring the matter to the HOA attorney for a restraining order. She said I had no right to question her authority, and the board would back her up because they always did. She said if I thought I was going to embarrass her at a board meeting, I was wrong, because she had the meeting agenda locked down and my complaint would not be added to it. She said I should expect a tow truck in my driveway by the end of the week, and when my car got towed, I would have no one to blame but myself. I let her finish. Then I said one sentence. Make it public. I love watching people get embarrassed. That was her line. She had said it to Marcus last year during his tow truck fight, and he had recorded it. I played the recording for her over the phone. She went silent. Then she hung up. The next morning, Louise showed up to finish the fence. Donna showed up 10 minutes later. She parked her car on the street, got out with the megaphone, and started yelling. "Attention, homeowners! The property owner at this address is in violation of HOA covenants and is proceeding with unapproved construction. Daily fines are in effect. This is a courtesy notice to the community." She repeated it 3 times, loud enough that people 2 blocks away could hear it. Louise ignored her and kept working. I stood in the driveway with my phone out, recording everything. Donna walked up to Louise and told him to stop. He said no. She said she would have him banned from every HOA in Anchorage if he did not leave the property immediately. He said he had a signed contract and a city permit, and she had no authority to tell him what to do. She said she would call the police. He said go ahead. She pulled out her phone and dialed. I kept recording. The police showed up 20 minutes later. 2 officers, both looking annoyed. Donna met them at the curb and started talking before they even got out of the car. She said I was violating HOA covenants and she needed them to issue a stop work order. The officer looked at her, looked at me, looked at Louise, and asked if anyone was hurt or if there was a crime in progress. I said no. Donna said the violation of HOA covenants was a civil matter that required police enforcement. The officer said no, it did not, and if she wanted to pursue it, she needed to file in small claims court. He said they were not going to referee an HOA dispute, and if she called them again for something like this, she might get cited for misuse of emergency services. Donna turned red. She told the officers they were not doing their jobs. The officer told her to have a good day and got back in the car. Donna stood there for a minute, staring at me. Then she got in her car and drove away. Louise finished the fence 2 hours later. It looked perfect. He said Donna was going to come after me hard now, and I should be ready. I thanked him and paid him the balance. Then I went inside and waited. The gate access glitch started that afternoon. The preserve has an electronic gate at the front entrance, and every homeowner has a code. My code stopped working. I tried it 3 times, then called the management company. They said my access had been suspended pending resolution of the outstanding violations. I asked them who authorized the suspension. They said the vendor coordinator had flagged my account for non-compliance. I asked them if Donna had the authority to do that. They said it was within her purview as part of enforcement procedures. I told them I was disputing the violations and I needed my access restored immediately. They said they would escalate it to the board and someone would follow up within 5 business days. I could not get into my own neighborhood. I had to park on the street outside the gate and walk in. My house was half a mile from the entrance. I did it twice, and by the 3rd time, I was furious. I called a friend who works in city code enforcement and asked him if the HOA had any authority over my fence. He said no. He said the city had jurisdiction over setbacks, height, and materials, and if I had a permit and the work met code, the HOA could not force me to remove it. He said the HOA could fine me, but they could not issue a stop work order, and they could not suspend my gate access as a form of punishment. He said that was considered retaliatory enforcement, and it might be actionable. I asked him if he could put that in writing. He said he could do better. He said he would send me a confirmation letter on city letterhead stating that the fence met code and the HOA had no jurisdiction over the issue. He said it would take a day or 2, but he would priority it because he had seen HOAs pull this kind of thing before and he was tired of it. The letter arrived 2 days later. It was exactly what I needed. It confirmed that the fence met city code, that the HOA had no authority to require a site survey or architectural approval for code-compliant repairs, and that any attempt to penalize me for completing the work could be considered interference with lawful construction activity. I made 10 copies and put 1 in my file, 1 in my car, 1 in my backpack, and mailed 1 to the management company, the board president, and Donna. Donna responded by escalating to step 2. I came home from work one afternoon and found a contractor truck in my driveway. Two guys were standing near my fence with a clipboard, and one of them was taking measurements. I asked them what they were doing. They said the HOA had sent them to inspect the fence for safety violations, and they had authorization to make corrections if needed. I asked them who authorized it. They said Donna. I asked them if they had a work order. They showed me a printed email from Donna that said the fence was a safety hazard and needed immediate remediation. I told them the fence was not a safety hazard, and they did not have my permission to touch it. They said they did not need my permission because the HOA had an easement, and they were authorized to perform safety work on any structure within the easement. I asked them to show me the easement. They said they did not have a copy, but Donna had told them it was valid. I told them to leave. They said they would report back to Donna, and I should expect a follow-up. I took pictures of their truck, their license plate, and the clipboard. Then, I called Donna. She did not answer. I left a voicemail. I said if she sent contractors onto my property again without my permission, I would file a police report for trespassing, and I would sue her personally for any damage they caused. I said I had the city code enforcement letter, and I was ready to use it. She called me back 10 minutes later. She said the contractors were performing a safety inspection under the HOA's authority, and I had no right to interfere. She said if I continued to obstruct HOA enforcement activities, she would refer the matter to the attorney for a restraining order. I said go ahead. She hung up. The side complication hit that evening. Donna posted cropped screenshots in the neighborhood group chat. The screenshots showed parts of my emails and made it look like I was threatening the HOA with lawsuits and refusing to comply with basic safety rules. She did not include the context or the city code enforcement letter. She did not mention the selective enforcement evidence or the tow vendor relationship. She just posted the crops and said I was a problem homeowner who was putting the community at risk. The group chat believed the crop. I got messages from 3 neighbors asking me what was going on. One of them said she was disappointed that I was fighting the HOA over something so simple. Another said he hoped I would reconsider my approach because it was making the neighborhood look bad. The third one said he had seen Donna's post and he wanted to hear my side before he made any judgments. I sent him the full email thread, the city code enforcement letter, and the selective enforcement evidence. He read it and said he would help me get the truth out, but he warned me that Donna had a lot of allies on the board and in the group chat, and changing minds would be hard. I decided to go nuclear. I compiled everything into a single packet: the emails, the photos, the videos, the city code enforcement letter, the selective enforcement evidence, the tow vendor relationship, the crop screenshots, and a timeline showing every escalation step Donna had taken. I added a cover letter explaining that I was not fighting the HOA. I was fighting one person who was abusing her authority and using selective enforcement to punish homeowners she did not like. I printed 20 copies and put them in my car. Then I waited for the board meeting. The board meeting was on a Thursday night at the clubhouse. I showed up 30 minutes early with my packet and a stack of certified mail slips I had collected from Donna's desk during a brief moment when the office was unlocked and she was not there. Marcus showed up with me. He brought his own packet. We sat in the back row and waited for the room to fill up. Donna was already there, sitting at the front table with the board president and 2 other board members. She saw me and glared. I smiled and held up the packet. The meeting started on time. The board president went through the agenda, approval of the minutes, treasurer's report, old business, new business. My complaint was not on the agenda. I raised my hand during the new business section and asked to be recognized. The board president said the agenda was closed and I would need to submit a request in advance if I wanted to address the board. I said I had submitted a request 2 weeks ago and it had been ignored. He said he had no record of it. I said I had proof I sent it, and I could forward it again right now. He said the board did not accept agenda items via email during the meeting. I said I was not asking to add an agenda item. I was asking to speak during the public comment period, which was required under the bylaws. The board president looked uncomfortable. He checked the bylaws on his laptop. He said there was a public comment period, but it was limited to 3 minutes per speaker. I said that was fine. He said I could speak. I stood up and walked to the front of the room. I handed out the packets. Donna stood up and said I was distributing defamatory materials and the board should not accept them. I said the materials were factual and I had evidence for every claim. The board president told Donna to sit down. She did not. She picked up the megaphone and said I do not negotiate with violations. The room went silent. I played the recording. The one Marcus had made last year where Donna said, "Make it public." I love watching people get embarrassed. I played it loud enough that everyone could hear it. Then I played the clip of her yelling in my yard about the string line being a sign. Then I played the clip of her calling the police and demanding a stop work order. The room was dead quiet. Donna's face turned red. She tried to interrupt, but the board president held up his hand and told her to wait. I went through the packet page by page. I showed the selective enforcement evidence. I showed the tow-vendor relationship. I showed the crop screenshots and the full email thread. I showed the city code enforcement letter. I said Donna had abused her authority, lied to homeowners, manipulated records, and retaliated against anyone who questioned her. I said she had cost the HOA thousands of dollars in legal settlements, and she was about to cost them a lot more if the board did not act. I said I was not asking for an apology. I was asking for accountability. I watched her pile on threats, because that is exactly what I needed her to do. Every escalation, every fine, every contractor she sent to my property without permission, it all built the case. The trump card was the city code enforcement confirmation that the HOA has no authority over the issue, and I had been holding it since the moment I knew she would not back down. I submit the packet to the HOA attorney and watch the tone change instantly. The board president looked at Donna. He asked her if she had anything to say. She stood up, grabbed the megaphone, and started yelling. She said I was a liar, I was manipulating the evidence, I was trying to destroy her reputation because I did not like being held accountable. She said the board should expel me from the HOA and place a lien on my house. She said she had done nothing wrong and she would not apologize. Then her phone died mid-rant and she froze in place. She looked down at the phone, tapped the screen, and realized it was completely dead. She could not pull up any of her files. She could not show any counter-evidence. She just stood there, holding a dead phone and a megaphone, while the room stared at her. The board president called for a recess. He took Donna and the other board members into the office. They were in there for 20 minutes. When they came back, the board president said the board had reviewed the evidence and they were referring the matter to the HOA attorney for an independent investigation. He said Donna would be placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation, and in the meantime, all enforcement actions against my property were suspended. He said the board would also be reviewing the vendor relationships and the tow policy, and they would report back at the next meeting. Donna did not say anything. She picked up her megaphone and walked out. I stayed for the rest of the meeting. The board voted to approve a neutral surveyor going forward and ban Karen from interpreting measurements. The minutes record the reversal and the reason. Donna got a written warning for harassment behavior. The fallout was immediate. The management company sent me an email the next morning confirming that my gate access had been restored and all fines had been canceled. They said the board had also voted to refund the design review fee I had been charged, and they apologized for any inconvenience. Donna sent me an email 2 days later. It was one sentence. I will be pursuing legal action for defamation. I forwarded it to the HOA attorney with a note that said, "Please add this to the file." Marcus called me that afternoon. He said 3 other homeowners had come forward with similar stories about Donna, and the board was now facing a potential class action lawsuit if they did not settle the enforcement disputes quickly. He said the board was scrambling to review every fine and tow from the past 2 years, and they were finding a pattern of selective enforcement that matched exactly what we had documented. He said the HOA attorney had recommended an insurance risk warning that makes the board panic, and the board was seriously considering whether to terminate Donna's position entirely. The contractor blacklist moment happened a week later. Luis called me and said Donna had sent him an email telling him he was banned from the preserve for life. He said he forwarded the email to the board president, and the board president called him back personally to apologize. The board president told Luis that Donna no longer had the authority to ban contractors, and he was welcome to work in the preserve anytime. Luis said he appreciated it, but he was still going to charge a Donna premium for any jobs in the neighborhood because he did not trust the HOA to keep her under control. The final showdown happened in a hardware store parking lot. I was picking up supplies for a garage project when I saw Donna's car. She was sitting in the driver's seat, on the phone, yelling at someone. I walked past and heard her say, "If you do not stop working for him, I will make sure you never get another HOA contract in this city." I stopped. I pulled out my phone and started recording. She saw me and got out of the car. She walked over and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Documenting your threats." She said I was harassing her. I said she was threatening my contractor on speaker, and I had every right to record it. She tried to grab my phone. I stepped back. She started yelling, "I do not negotiate with violations." That was the 3rd time she had said it, and it was the last time. I played the recording back to her. She heard her own voice threatening the contractor, and she froze. I said, "If you contact my contractor again, I will file a harassment complaint with the police, and I will add it to the file the HOA attorney is building." She did not say anything. She got in her car and drove away. The board fired her 3 weeks later. The investigation found that she had accepted referral fees from the tow vendor, manipulated enforcement records, and selectively applied the covenants to target homeowners she personally disliked. The board voted to terminate her position immediately, and they issued a public apology to the community. They also voted to adopt a new enforcement policy that required all violations to be documented with photographic evidence and all fines to be approved by a majority vote of the board. The new policy banned any board member or vendor coordinator from interpreting the covenants without consulting the HOA attorney first. Marcus and I got a formal letter from the board thanking us for bringing the enforcement issues to their attention. The letter said the board was committed to fair and transparent enforcement going forward, and they would be conducting an annual audit of all enforcement actions to ensure compliance with the new policy. The letter also said the board had voted to waive all outstanding fines related to the fence dispute, and they would be issuing refunds to any homeowner who had been improperly fined under Donna's enforcement regime. I still live in the preserve. The fence is still standing. My gate access still works. Donna moved out 6 months later. I heard she got a job with another HOA in a different part of Anchorage, but I do not know if that is true. I do not care. She is not my problem anymore. The neighborhood is quieter now. The group chat is less toxic. People wave when I walk past. It feels like a place where normal life is possible again, instead of a place where the board claims authority over anything near easements. I learned a lot from that fight. I learned that HOAs operate on fear and selective enforcement, and the moment you stop being afraid and start building a paper trail, the whole system falls apart. I learned that most board members do not actually want to fight. They just want someone else to handle the enforcement so they do not have to deal with the angry emails and the meeting disruptions. I learned that the worst enforcers are the ones who love the power, and the only way to stop them is to take that power away in front of an audience. If you are dealing with an HOA that targets you over fence and property line enforcement, document everything. Take photos, take videos, save emails, print records. Get a copy of the covenants and the bylaws and read them yourself. Do not trust the board to interpret them fairly. If the HOA claims you need a survey, check with the city first. If the city says you do not need one, get it in writing. If the HOA finds you, dispute it in writing and ask for proof of the rule and proof of consistent enforcement. If the HOA threatens a lien, consult an attorney. If the HOA sends contractors onto your property without permission, call the police and file a trespassing report. If the HOA retaliates by suspending your access or targeting you with bogus violations, file a complaint with the management company and the board. And if that does not work, file a complaint with your state attorney general. The system is designed to make you give up. Do not give up. Fight back with paperwork, with witnesses, with recordings, and with public meetings. Make them explain their decisions in front of the community. Make them put it in the minutes. Make them own the consequences. And if you win, do not gloat. Just make sure the new policy prevents the next person from going through what you went through. I appreciate your support.